Hey YouTube, welcome back to Gaijin Hideout. I'm Jeff. I'm live right now on Twitch. I'm a streamer who's new to Monster Hunter. I've been playing a bit of Monster Hunter World, covering Monster Hunter Wilds, and Rurikhan here, it looks like, had the opportunity to do an interview with the lead developers, and I really enjoyed learning more about Dragon's Dogma 2 from the developers when I was covering that earlier this year. So I expect the same thing to happen here. With these guys, I'm always curious to learn the logic behind some of this from the developer's perspective. I'm kind of a developer myself, IRL, not for video games, but for iPhone apps. Fun fact about me and myself and I. But yeah, real quick before we get into it, if you want to see a noob react hilariously and epically to the trials and tribulations of learning his first Monster Hunter game, would love to have you follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gaijin Hideout. And I'm playing through Monster Hunter World right now on Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST, and I do other streams as well on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. EST as well. But yeah, let's get into it. Gaijin developed all the scam phone apps confirmed. Psycho Troop, you've outed yourself as an Android user. We don't have scam apps on iPhone. Sorry, bud. You've been caught.
As soon as we find a good spot, we can get things set up and ready to go. And then we can get started.
Check out Bob Ross. He's a national treasure. True.
What is your favorite weapon in Wild so far? And do you usually capture or slay monsters more often?
Oh, okay. Fun fact, I used to work for this is a standard interview format, by the way, for small interviewers. I used to work at I used to work in music journalism, and I covered like Japanese music in a past life. And when we did interviews for Japanese bands and we were short, the translator wasn't convenient, we could ask questions over email or pre-select them like this. So this is still Rurikhan asking the questions, I think. And they're like his questions, and then they'll be answering in Japanese and doing the maybe handling the translation. And that just helps you like break it up if you're like doing it on the fly and just trying to knock it out and you don't have time to do the booth and all that stuff. So it's good for logistics.
Favorite weapon in Wild so far?
That's just my guess though.
What is your favorite weapon in Wild so far? And do you usually capture or slay monsters more often?
I use the lance, and I've always used it since the beginning of the series.
Interesting.
It's really fun in Wilds as well, and I'm not changing from my main weapon.
You can tell who the Rurikhan fan is. I'm guessing it's this guy. He was smiling a lot.
Actually,
I think Rurikhan talked about him as well.
Director Tokuda-san is always asking me, hey, you need to use a bit more of a wider variety of weapons here, but I'm sticking to my lance. As the director, I, of course, play through all the weapons to test them out. I've been getting quite into hunting horn in Monster Hunter Wilds. It's really fun.
What did I just get flashbanged with? Oh my, what did I just get flashbanged with?
Quite into hunting. Of course, play through all the weapons to test them out. I've been getting quite into hunting horn in Monster Hunter Wilds. It's really fun in this game. But more recently, I've actually been using the Charge Blade. It's really fun and satisfying to use its focus attack move that lets you destroy the wounds. As for capture or slay, in the earlier stages, I think I like to use capture as a way to end the hunt sooner whenever my gear isn't maybe quite up to the level if I'm fighting against a very strong monster. But once I get stronger and stronger in the later stages of the game, I go slay happy.
Is it is there a huge differential between slaying and capturing? Like, do you get way more items if you capture or if you slay? I don't know if I've gotten that figured out yet in World. So, and then what was the other question I had? Does it ever get to be that big of a deal with your weapons coming up short on a boss so strong you want to just like capture it. Does that happen? I guess it would. You get rare items marginally more often when capturing, and it takes less time. Slaying gets you more certain and common materials. Capturing gets you more rare materials generally. Some materials only drop from carving after a kill, if I'm not mistaken. Rare mat chance up to. Okay. Sorry. Wamba Kamalunski said, capture will have the bonus slots at the end of the screen. Rare mat chance up to. Oh, okay.
As you all probably know, I'm famously a hammer main.
Because of the bonus slots.
And I always have been.
Hey!
Again, Tokuda-san tends to ask me to maybe explore other options and dig in my knowledge of the other weapons, but I don't see the need to do that.
Respectable. Hammer bro. Hammer bro. Can we get some bonks in chat?
Over capture, you know, I think you need to...
Let's get some bonks going in chat.
Monster Hunter traditionally
There
strikes
we
a
go.
balance between action
Bonk.
combat and hunting simulation. Things like eating food, sharpening your weapon, hot and cold drinks. How are you balancing these two aspects in Monster Hunter Wilds?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I misspoke earlier. This is definitely, I guess this is definitely Rurikhan speaking. I wonder if he had to pre-record it. He's speaking very clearly. And then the translator listened to it and then spoke it to him. That's probably what happened. Or something.
I think it's important to have realistic and immersive hunter simulation aspects of the game, like the ones you mentioned, like eating food, sharpening your weapon, dealing with temperature changes in the environment.
Hammer main more like delegation main. Listen, I delegated one time. We played multiplayer one time, and I delegated because I was the boss. I was in the management role as the streamer. So I delegated the task of like just doing the actual killing of the monsters to you guys, and I was working the cameras and managing the angles and making sure everybody was engaged. But listen, I'm a hammer main. Rurikhan said it took a lot of time in editing to get this right. Yeah, I bet. Cameraman main.
And these are all included
exactly.
in one way or another in Monster Hunter Wilds. But I think our approach since Monster Hunter World has been, don't let those kind of get in the way of the main hunting action by becoming too much of a kind of admin task you have to manage at all times. Especially with things like reducing the amount of items you need to stock up on and have on you at all times. They're a sort of a finite resource you have to either be purchasing or crafting, because it just becomes inventory management at that point. So as with some aspects in Monster Hunter World, where we changed it from an item to another sort of mechanic that you would use to deal with things, aspects like temperature and hot and cold and that kind of thing, we've got maybe a different approach this time around that will hopefully reduce that overhead of admin and let you just focus on the hunting action itself a little bit more.
Have we seen radial menus being used yet in this game? Have any of you guys seen radial menus being used? Because it's a nice feature in Monster Hunter World, but yes, we have. Okay. Yeah, they came up with a good solution for their problem, which is use this radial menu to make your life easier. But I guess as a new player, that is kind of one thing, is it like the item stuff is really intense. And thank God I have a good chat that reminds me about the loadouts and explains this stuff to me. I normally I would be like, oh, get all this item stuff out of there. But I've seen people, like, I think Rurikhan tweeted out literally, like, I think he said, like, there's supposed to be downtime where you're supposed to be managing inventory, and you're supposed to be like not even managing inventory, but preparing and planning for the next one. So I could see how, like, if they took all of this away, then you're looking at like a less flashy, slower Devil May Cry to an extent. But I think they're good. I think they're getting really good at striking the balance, because I think the draw is the preparation and the planning, and not maybe the actual crawling of the menus and the inventory management and organization. And so if they've overall like reduced the number of items, I think that's good, as opposed to getting rid of all of them. And then I would also say the menu design, just the UI of it, is much more cohesive this time around. I think it's much more easy to look at. from what I've seen compared to what I'm playing with in Monster Hunter World. So one thing I'm a little worried about, if I remember Rurikhan, messing with cooking, and I saw a duration thing. I hope food doesn't end at a set duration. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I'm going to use my radial menu. Oh, yeah, that's from me doing that. Radial menu. I just started yelling. I was yelling it like that so that I would remember to use it.
The hunting simulation thing, though, is not so much that as depicting the humans as part of the ecosystem the monsters live in. The monster's behavior is designed to be plausible in terms of being a living creature and not just a video game boss. So if they're moving around a lot, they're going to get hungry and they might go and find prey. If they get exhausted, they want to go and sleep and recover. Like, these are realistic behaviors for an animal creature to have. So it wouldn't make sense if the hunter was just a superhuman who didn't have any of these needs. Who, if you were moving around a lot, didn't get hungry and need to eat to bring their stamina back.
Yeah,
Players
fair enough.
love getting rewards.
And I will say on the monster side, like that, I've had so much respect for since I've started playing this, because that was the whole reason I got into this into this game was I was playing Dragon's Dogma 2 and I was just in awe of the bosses and how much they felt like animals that were like actually real and fighting you, not just like lay boss, lay enemy or whatever. And then people in my chat were like, oh, well, you're gonna love Monster Hunter, and in fact people from Monster Hunter helped with these bosses for Dragon's Dogma 2. And I was like, really? So then I checked it out, and so I like the organic feel to it, and I think having the organic, like, human element of it on the hunter side, where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna get hungry and I'm gonna have to return to camp and come back. The more they streamline it, I think the better. But yeah, definitely leave it in. It makes sense.
Like weapon skins from event quests, but in Sunbreak, a lot of the more unique weapon skins were only available through paid DLC. What are your plans for Monster Hunter Wilds?
Is that true?
DLC. A lot of the more unique weapon skins were only available through paid DLC.
Are they talking about Iceborne?
What are your plans for
Or
Monster
microtransactions?
Hunter Wilds?
The basic layered armor system, so-called transmog, will be unlocked at a certain point as you progress through the game, and then once you unlock it, you'll freely be able to create.
Oh, microtransactions in Rise, says, hey, Lil Fuzz, that's your first time chatting. Welcome. Interesting.
Any layered armor that you want. We do also have plans to make some extra
This looks so sick. This looks so detailed and sick.
special layered armor that will be made available as paid DLC.
Because of
Am
the
I going to have to upgrade my PC to play this?
current trends in Western games, players are afraid that one day Monster Hunter DLC might include monster materials or pay-to-win items. So far, Monster Hunter DLC has remained aesthetic only. Can you confirm that is still going to be the case moving forward?
Yeah, we're sticking with the same direction we've always had.
Nice.
Is elemental damage
Nice.
going to
Nipped it in the butt. Nipped it in the bud. Nipped it in the bud. That's good. That's cool.
play a more meaningful role in Monster Hunter Wilds?
Yeah, and this is an established franchise, so I guess it's easier for them to address these things head on and identify them as needs. What happened with the Dragon's Dogma 2 microtransaction thing was unfortunate, but because it was like a big nothing burger, I think, in the eyes of everyone that knew about what the game was, but they didn't really address it like that. So they probably should have over-addressed it because they had a lot of potential newer players. So and there was a big thing about it. So it's good they're just like being like, yeah, we're the same thing.
Going to play a more meaningful role in Monster? Is elemental damage going to play a more meaningful role in Monster Hunter Wilds?
Elemental damage tends to have different levels of importance depending on the game.
If you ever looked at the Monster Hunter World DLC list, it's massive lol, but it's all very small cosmetic stuff. Well, good. Good for them. Good that it's just cosmetic stuff, but also kind of, to be honest, like good for them. I don't know if I'm against microtransactions for aesthetic items on a single player game. that you pay for. I don't know that I'm actually against that. Obviously I'm against it if it's like game, like pay to win or like game altering, but I think if like the game has a reputation for like, you know, or it's the kind of game that's like very ambitious, broad, you're sinking a lot of hours into it. You know, it's physically very huge, and you know, it's acting almost kind of like an MMO or pseudo multiplayer game in its scale, maybe you could say. There's like enough cost there that like that's a good way for them to like recoup some of the losses and continue supporting the game, as long as that's what it's going towards. But like in theory, I'm kind of okay with this. That's kind of more coming from like I'm a software developer, and it's like, like I know everybody pays like $60 for these games, but some of these games are starting to get so ambitious that it's like you're paying $60 for a game that you're playing for like 8 years. I think they can pull a Fortnite a little bit with the with the skins and stuff like that. I think we're gonna get to a point where I think people aren't gonna be mad about that with how much content they get.
Game and how it fits into the overall game design.
And it'll justify bug fixes, which will be inevitable the larger these games get.
The combat design.
$70, yeah.
I don't want it to become pointless, but at the same time, I don't want it to become fine. And the cost of.
And then they do 2 total years of free title updates. Throw them a bone, guys. Okay, well, there you go. Then that's what it's going towards. Yeah. Obviously, they're probably making a profit off of that, but you want them to make a profit if it's a good game, And as a developer, I do kind of have that mindset where it's like, yeah, I would want to monetize that without interfering totally. So, yeah.
Elemental damage tends to have different levels of importance depending on the game and how.
The only place, sorry, not to go too far on this tangent. The only place I think where like doing those kinds of microtransactions can affect the game is that like with Fortnite or like other popular games where they, still only use the skins, sometimes the game itself can start to be reshaped intentionally to be a social game and not like a competitive game or a hardcore game. But that usually happens with shooters and stuff like that. And like everything I've seen with Monster Hunter is it's like you can't like reshape it into a social game unless you're socializing with other skilled players and you're playing the quest or whatever. So I don't think there's any like concern about that. Like I don't think you can like it can never not be Monster Hunter. And then you just have the microtransactions
into
for
the overall game design and the combat design.
I'm gonna buy my cute stamps, okay? Yeah.
But at the same
Let
time,
me
I
buy
don't
my
want it to
sus
become the
handler
main focus.
outfits.
It's the only thing you need to think
Okay,
about,
I'm
and
sorry.
it's
Let
too
me back
powerful compared
up.
to other
I'm yapping a bit.
into the overall game design and the combat design. I don't import. Elemental damage tends to have different levels of importance depending on the game and how it fits into the overall game design and the combat design. I don't want it to become pointless, but at the same time, I don't want it to become the main focus. It's the only thing you need to think about, and it's too powerful compared to other aspects of weapon design. So we're working on having it be part of a balanced gameplay system.
So you mentioned that there's going to.
Okay, so like, how would you get like, how significant is it? Significant or insignificant? Than in Monster Hunter World, like elemental damage. I don't know because I'm just on the hammer main, or I'm a hammer main right now, so I haven't touched elemental stuff yet. But maybe it varies by weapon.
Be part of a balanced gameplay system.
So you mentioned that
Depends
there's
on what the
going
type
to be these temporary camps that can be placed in dangerous locations, which means they can be attacked.
Elemental damage is just not worth trying until like master rank. Fast hitting elemental damage is pretty important for fast attacking weapons. Elemental is huge for frequently hitting weapons like dual blades and bow. Oh, okay, good to know.
By monsters placed in dangerous locations,
This is
which
the camps
means
question.
they can be attacked by monsters. Can you elaborate on this mechanic?
There are areas where you can place a pop-up camp and it'll be essentially guaranteed safe because no monsters patrol there, nothing ever comes
Oh, that's
past.
good to know.
And then there's a sort of 3 levels where you've got like safe up to completely dangerous, where it's very close to where dangerous monsters tend to roam, and there's a high chance that if the monster comes past your camp, it's going to just attack it and break it because it's very aggressive. At the same time, not all monsters react to camps in the same way. Some of them who are more of a threat will sort of see a pop-up camp in their territory as something they want to attack and break. Others might notice it, but maybe, you know, not really pay attention to it too much. So there's different levels of consideration that you're going to have to give. How much do you want to have a high risk, high reward, convenient placement of the camp in an area where it may end up getting broken and disappearing? Or how much do you want to stay on the sidelines more and have further to travel, but have much less risk of it being destroyed?
That's cool. They added,
I'm
they like
assuming
made a
there's
tier
going to
system
be
for that.
some materials required to craft the pop-up camps?
Not materials so much, but there are points you spend to create them.
Is that Rurikhan's hand?
I'm assuming there's going to be some materials required to craft
Maybe
the
not.
pop-up camps?
That must have been
Not
the
materials
translator.
so much, but there are points you spend to create them.
Oh,
So, with the
like research points. I wonder if Monsters Breaking Camps came from the bagel bug where he could bomb you inside the tents.
introduction of the new system where we can switch between two weapons, there's now a fear that some players will just want to use the hunting horn to buff themselves and then swap into a different weapon.
Wow, he asked the question head on. Look at that.
Is this something that you have considered?
Yeah, I'm aware it's a hot topic in the community. The
Oh, that's
system
cool
where
that
you
he's
can
aware.
choose any two weapons is important, and I don't want to limit people from choosing a hunting horn as the secondary if they want to do that. And I also want to make it so that the hunting horn buffs you apply will remain on you even if you change back to another weapon in your possession, because that's only fair and it makes sense. But the concern that it's some sort of balance breaker where people will just be permanently buffed is something I'm aware of, and we're working on making sure that it remains a balanced system so that hunting horn doesn't become the only viable secondary weapon.
Do you think that Ryozu will consider learning hunting horn so that his hammer will deal more damage?
No. Yeah, no.
Oh,
bonk
he's
life.
here. I'm sorry. I totally misread. I've guessed wrong, I think. I see him with his hat. He's here.
So that his hammer will deal more damage? Ryozu
His
will
I just assumed because his audio sounds so good that like he pre-recorded the question or whatever.
Doesn't become the only viable secondary weapon.
Do you think that Ryozu will consider learning hunting horn so that his hammer will
Rurikhan
deal
hat
more
jump
damage?
scare? Yeah, let me get it.
No.
Or maybe he recorded the questions afterwards so they're more clear, because he may have just had the one microphone. I've been in the situation when I was interviewing bands at like an anime convention one time. When I used to work for a news site, I had to like interview them like this, but we were just writing them out. I can't imagine having to do video. That's going to be the next thing, is like audio video interview. If I ever get to that stage, that's gonna be fun. I've had the dry run before in a past venture, but only for like creating written interview content. So he might have re-recorded his audio. He said he had some audio issues during the interview. Yeah. In another life, that would have just been the normal recording. Was that, and then you just write out the article and Q&A, and that's it. But now you got to get the video interviews. YouTubers got it rough, man. YouTubers got it way rough than journalists ever did, dude. It's like you have to have it's the most complex video format, or second most, and then the most is streaming. God forbid you do this live and something goes wrong, So, yeah.
Yeah, no. Bonk is life.
It's typical for Monster Hunter to reveal a huge portion of the monster lineup ahead of the release of the game, leaving only a few surprises.
Oh, what does this say in my chat? Oh, Lil Fuzz says, dude, did anyone here watch Force Gaming's preview of Monster Hunter Wilds? He confirmed that moving from Windward Plains into Scarlet Forest is a seamless transition. Is this the first time we are actually getting confirmation that it's truly open world? Is it linked by like an animation, like a sacred animation or something like that, or is it truly seamless? That would be crazy. Living on my mount. Honestly, it probably still loads when you enter the forest. It unloads the planes of all content to save resources. I doubt it keeps everything fully loaded. As big as these areas are, yeah, I don't know.
Of the monster lineup ahead of the release of the game, leaving only a few of them. It's typical.
Yeah, no, bonk is life.
It's typical for Monster Hunter to reveal a huge portion of the monster lineup ahead of the release of the game, leaving only a few surprises. But those surprises are very special for the players. Have you considered keeping more monsters secret? Like maybe not revealing as much of the monster roster?
I think our current style works for us. The monsters tie into the rest of the elements of the game so closely that it isn't just like revealing a character and that's it. The monsters we choose to show you in advance as each trailer comes along and we show you a new monster, maybe the environment it lives in, they really give people an idea of what to expect from the game. So not just the monster design, but oh, I see that it lives in this area and that gives me a clue as to how the gameplay might feel. So we're pretty happy with our current approach. The main reason we don't show a monster in advance would be because it ties in with the storyline and the sort of final few maps you might discover and the way the story develops towards the ending of the game. And we don't want to ruin that for people right up front. So, of course, you always have to keep some things close to your chest so that people will still enjoy discovering what happens as the story progresses. I think with Monster Hunter World, we probably showed more monsters than usual because it was something of a reapproach of the series to the West. It was a reintroduction because a lot of new players were getting on board at that time who hadn't before, and we wanted to let you know this is what Monster Hunter is all about. This is the kind of lineup you can expect. So now that we're where we are with our global fan base, I think that we can afford to reveal enough monsters to make you interested and excited, but to keep plenty in our pockets so that you can discover it once the game comes out.
It just feels very nice to find a monster that we haven't really seen yet, or to just find something that wasn't really announced. In Iceborne, I didn't really know that the Guiding Lands existed, and so when I finished the story and then I went on...
Okay, real quick, before he continues that. Lofa says, I'm bad at this. I'll admit that I'm one of the people that look at MH roster leaks, lol. I'm going to apologize in advance, guys. I'm reacting to every single one of those, just like I did with the weapons. I'm sorry. Reactors got to react. Hustlers got to hustle. I got to grow this audience, man. And there's no way I'm holding off on it. Jeff going to farm. I'm going to farm the frick out of, like, I can't swear for YouTube. I'm going to farm the freak out of this. These trailers. Well, to be fair, you're probably going to forget each one by the time it comes out. That's true. That's canon. That's canon lore. That's true. I will forget. That is my superpower. I will forget, and then you'll see a genuine reaction when I see it for the first time again in the game. So, you know, the deal I'll make is I will remain unspoiled on Monster Hunter World as much as possible. And I will shockingly react, you know, to all of them because I am discovering them all for the first time. I don't watch content related to Monster Hunter World usually, unless I'm listening to a video just to hear a little information about a weapon or something. But even that I don't really do. I don't watch or I don't play the game. So that I'm gonna have all my authentic reactions and you know, genuine first impression, like what the heck in the game, wandering around with Monster Hunter, with World, and then Wilds. We will be farming. We will be farming the assets they use. This is so not on topic. Nobody cares about this. I can't tell you the assets that they put on the website are so good for thumbnails. It's so HD. It's like so nice. It's so nice. It makes my life so much easier. I have to. I'm sorry. I have to. All right, let's back this up.
Yet, or to just find something that wasn't really announced. In Iceborne, I didn't really know. Just
seeing them is a lot different from fighting them for real. That is true. That is true. They are so dynamic that it's not really about just seeing them. So I'm just trying to wonder what Elder Dragons would fit into Wilds.
That the Guiding Lands existed. And so when I finished the story and then I went on to discover the Guiding Lands, it felt amazing because it was this whole new map that I didn't even know existed. Can we craft skill decorations in Monster Hunter Wilds?
That ties in with the endgame contents a little bit, so I don't really want to get into it right now. But you know,
Can we what?
The
And even know existed.
Can we craft what?
Can we craft skill decorations in Monster Hunter Wilds?
that ties in with the endgame contents a little bit, so I don't really want to get into it right now. But you know, stay excited.
Stay excited.
Gunlance shelling level is usually a source of great frustration because a majority of the Gunlances never really hit max shelling level. Are there any plans to change this?
Yeah, I'm aware of the issue where fans felt that beyond a certain point, if the shelling level wasn't reaching what it needed to be, then the rest of the properties of the weapon kind of didn't really matter because that was such an important overriding factor. So we've actually changed the calculation this time for the
You've only just gotten to decorations in world. Oh, does he mean like decorations for your room? But he said skill decorations. Max shelling is like mini nuke, lol.
overall power of each gun lance that you craft. We've actually changed the calculation this time for the overall power of each gun lance that you craft. So in addition to the shelling level and the attack type, there's a basic attack power stat that will scale up as you progress down the crafting tree. And the way they're calculated together is more balanced now, so that it isn't overwhelmingly affected by just the shelling level. And you'll have much more viable gun lances later in the tree thanks to the higher attack power. So I'm sure the details will become clearer once we get closer to release and you're able to get your hands on it. But he actually checked into the details he could describe about that today, because we spoke earlier after you and I spoke. He spoke with the dev team in Japan to check the details so that you'd be satisfied with the updated gun lance system.
Oh, good for him.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
No. Decorations are skills that you can manually slot into armor. Are skills that you can manually slot into armor. Getting them in world is based on RNG, and the better decos are rarer. Oh, okay. Slotted skill gems. MH calls them decorations, but to any gamer we call them gems. Okay, you know, like gems you slot into armor. Got it. Deco is deco.
Okay, so this is this last question I told you about. So if you could please just translate. This is from my friend Gaijin Hunter.
Oh.
Nyanta no fukatsu. Tanomimasu.
The Prowler.
Did I say that right?
Yeah. We're not saying okay to your question. We're saying you pronounced it okay. You asked for the Prowler system to return. We understood your pronunciation, but that's it.
So is the Prowler, I'm seeing... Interesting. Fun little tidbit in the back there. What is it? Wait. Is that a Rathalos? Have I never... I know what that is now. I never knew that when I reacted to that trailer a long time ago. That's a Rathalos, right? Rathalos jump scare. You can be the cat. It's basically a secondary layer of skill customization. Took Jeff long enough. Yeah, let me see here. Prowler. That's cute. Well, that was good. That was a cool interview. It was they're very the developers really seem like they treat the community like a stakeholder, which is interesting. I think that's good, I should say. Very, very good, actually. You know, I don't know about game development specifically. I make iPhone apps. That was my profession for a decade. But like in software development, stakeholders are anyone that has a vested stake in the game, like a vested interest in the software. So that can be the developers, actually the physical coders working on it. It can be people representing like the business side that want to make sure that money's being made off of it, so things are in place that they need. It can be people from the design team that make sure that like the design is looking good. The visuals match up with what they designed, and it can also be the customers themselves directly. That's very common in modern agile development, to involve the customer directly to give feedback. you know, as you're developing it, since they're the end user. So in this case, it seems like they treat like at least key voices of the community like a stakeholder. Like the fact that he said that this guy said that he reached out to the developer, to like the developer team in Japan to get confirmation about a certain question that that Rurikhan asked about the Gunlance. That's something you would do for a stakeholder. Like if the someone on the business side wanted to make sure that this requirement was added and the team lead didn't know, they would check with the developer, you know, or if a customer saw a bug or had a complaint and wanted to know if it would be fixed in the next release, or they would like ask, you know, the team lead would be like, you know what, let me check with the developer, source their information that they give them, and then like relay it back. So it's cool. That's cool. Like you guys are in the development process basically, especially through these like YouTubers who are like, they're much different from, or these YouTubers and streamers and stuff. They're much different from your games journalists who start. I think games journalists like make their own opinions, and broadly speaking, like they form their own opinions like literally themselves. But just the nature of YouTube and Twitch, we're like submerged in comment sections and Twitch chats, and we're like wading through all of this like feedback, positive, negative, otherwise. And so someone like Rurikhan can like absorb a lot of organic feedback. And because everyone understands how a YouTube channel and comment section works, if they weren't born, you know, if they're not like super old or whatever, like people can kind of reliably look at a YouTuber, I think, in the current age and be like, oh yeah, no, he's going to be tapped in. Oh, this guy plays Gunlance. I bet his whole community is talking about Gunlance, this Gunlance, that, like this kind of feedback, and they absorb. Yes, exactly. So, they seem to be very aware of us in a good way. Yes. They know how important the series is to us because it's even more important to them. They're super passionate and love their game. Yeah, it's really good to see. That's really cool. It's really cool when you get something with this dense and deep of a gameplay loop figured out, and then and it's successful, and then you can just like build on it. That's kind of the dream, because then everybody's just happy in general, you know. That, and they know Monster Hunter is a major cash cow. LOL. I think Monster Hunter series is their highest grossing series. Highest grossing single player, I thought, or something like that. But yeah, that's why it's a cash cow. You can see this feels like an MMO community, sort of. Like I get the vibe of that, you know, or like some kind of community where it's like there's like long-standing interest in the game or whatever, but it's just across like multiple series of like multiple hundreds of hours per game, you know. So I think it's just the systems are very serious, like the gameplay systems, crafting systems. It's just very like, they feel very solid, you know. It doesn't feel like not a lot in this game feels like an afterthought, you know. It might feel complex, it might feel intimidating to new people, but like you can just kind of tell it's just not a lot in this game is an afterthought or like you know, a little half-baked. So anyway, it's a top 2 cash cow. We are hunters. Yes. Well, thank you so much for watching my reaction. I quite enjoyed this interview. It was cool to get more of the developer insight. If you enjoyed this and you're watching on YouTube, leave a like and on the video and subscribe. It's free and it helps me out. Also, if you would like to be in the live chat for some of these reaction videos, or just to watch me stream Monster Hunter live or similar games live, you can go to twitch.tv/Gaijin Hideout and follow me on there. And you'll be notified when I go live. You'll be able to be in the chat and use all the emojis you're seeing on stream and all that great stuff. So we'd love to have you join us. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.